look up at the stars to guide me. I wish. And throw caution to every warning sign.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tudyk. Today I'm joined by my hopeful co-host, Tanner Dykstra, and we're here to talk about Wish, the 100-year anniversary film for Walt Disney Animation Studios. If you have seen Wish, which you haven't actually because this is new, we watched that in early screening.
We're way ahead of you,
yeah.
All right?
But if you're curious to know our thoughts on this movie, of course, watch this review. And if you want to talk to us more directly and sort of, you know, pester us with questions, interview us a little bit.
Pester us.
You can either comment or join our Discord, which has a link in the description. And, of course, while you're down there, you can subscribe to this channel because we review a lot of things. Quite a few movies. Maybe too many. Maybe too many. We've got to slow it down.
Some are saying.
Many are saying this. Tanner, we have seen Wish. We were looking forward to it kind of as a joke. Not because we were particularly like, that one's going to be awesome, but like, we gassed it up a little bit.
We did.
We're known to do that from time to time.
Yeah.
And now we've seen it.
Yeah.
Early access, surrounded by giggling children.
That's true.
We've seen Wish. What did you think?
Tucker, I have two minds about the film Wish.
Okay, one.
And
Mind number one.
And unlike most of the times I say that, they're both bad. They're both bad minds.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so okay, well, I'm curious to know what the difference is between these
So
minds.
the difference is...
What's mind number one?
Wish is either just a boring, nothing, like stock standard Disney film that looks a little weird because they're trying, or maybe just did something different with the animation. That's mind one.
Sure.
It's inoffensive. It's for kids. It'll do fine at the box office because, like, it's just for families. Like, you want to see a Disney movie, this is, like... the like a Disney movie, TM copyright, all rights reserved.
Yeah.
Okay. My other mind is, and related to that last thought, it is the perfect representation of the Walt Disney Company Ouroborosing itself.
Sure.
In that it is the idealized Disney movie, and by that I mean it is the most boring milquetoast nothing burger of a movie that only serves to sort of like give Disney a reach around. Sorry to be crass, but hey.
In this review of a family-friendly film.
Listen. It is, I mean, there's references to Disney films of the past, and it's very reflexive of that we knew that from the beginning. But the way that it goes about it, and how it provides nothing of its own, and brings nothing of its own to the table, really infuriates me. So I don't know how fair I want to be to this film.
Well, I just express your emotions, frankly. We're hot off the presses.
Yeah.
How did Wish make you feel? And it seems like kind of mixed, but leaning on a frustrated side. And I come out more on the side. Just like,
that's fair.
I'm not particularly passionate
You're kind
about
of like mind one, essentially.
Yes, I'm in mind one. And that's because I was already not a Disney guy.
Fair. Whoa, hello.
Okay, we got someone else doing a little parkour here. I never really loved Disney's movies. I love Pixar. I love some of the things that they have, frankly, purchased, like Marvel and Star Wars, other things that have very great personal connection to me. But outside of a handful of very key, mostly moments in Disney animated films, they're just not for me, and that's okay. Like, I'm not fawning over the history of all these, or like these classic films. But I do think that they're usually pretty quality, and this one is just below that bar for me.
Okay.
I don't think it does anything super offensive, and we'll get into your sort of Ouroboros-ing concept a little bit further. But I do think that it is below that bar because it lacks a lot of its own identity.
Yes.
This is the most basic fairy tale story you can possibly get. Yeah. And that also is combined with the most stock standard characters you can get. And that's really what unsells me on the world of Wish. The Kingdom of Rosis, where it takes place, the characters that inhabit this world. I mean, I personally kind of like the style. I don't want to get into that. Sure. But otherwise, the personality that things like Moana and Encanto have brought recently, it's just completely devoid of that.
It is completely devoid of that, and I don't know like where to inject myself into that conversation. But we'll talk about Ariana DeBose as Asha. I guess that's a pretty easy in. So her whole...
I would say she's probably the best part. Her voice performance, she does a very good job as a voice performer.
Here's the thing. Okay, so she's Ariana DeBose is good. You know, from the first moment that we heard her doing I think the song is just called "I Wish." Yeah. She's a powerhouse vocal performer.
Oh, absolutely.
And she does that, and you know, she brings that in her regular characterization as well, the non-musical side of it. Yeah. But there's no material for her there.
That's the problem.
Is that okay? So the conceit of the film Wish is that if you've seen the trailer, you get it, but I'll say it anyways. King Magnifico, Chris Pine, has all the wishes of the kingdom. Yes. He's like, you give me your wish, you completely forget about it, and I grant it at some point. Yeah. He really doesn't, but we'll get to that. And then Asha's like, I want to work for the king and help him grant wishes. But surprise, surprise, King Magnifico is kind of an asshole and doesn't like granting wishes.
She's like, hey, let's change that.
Yeah.
And that is it, frankly. And I think that is my biggest disappointment with this movie, is it feels like it's attempting to set up that there is something else going on here, that there is something a little bit deeper, a little bit of motivation, explanation, and it feels like there's a 5-minute sequence missing, because there are two specific things that make me think that there's something else planned here. The motivations for King Magnifico and Asha are non-existent. They are the good character and the bad character because they are the good character and the bad character, and ostensibly for no other reason. But there is, I can see through the Matrix that there was an idea that they just did not put on screen. Because there's this fucking tapestry on the wall that is burned off in the corner that they focus on a couple of times. Like, okay, so nearing the beginning of the third act, we'll get a little bit of a flashback that explains why King Magnifico established the Kingdom of Roses.
We do a magic spell that like repairs the castle or something, and the tapestry comes back. She's like, whoa, King Magnifico, he was hiding something about his past.
And same with Asha.
I've seen movies before. That's what happens when you set something up like that.
But same with Asha, there's like this thing about her father and like her family, and that just is never brought up again. And those aren't things that are particularly easy to write, but they're not difficult either. Like, that's a 5-minute
They've written them before. They've written them before.
That we just never see. And it makes the film feel really hollow, I would say. It's like, there is supposed to be this base of why should we care about these characters? Why are they doing the things they are? But instead, you just have to be bought into the world of this movie of, it's just how it is. Too bad.
And the world isn't interesting. Can I say this a second? Sure. There's no like pop of color palette to this movie. It's all very muted, strangely, in terms of color.
I agree. Actually, no, I disagree. I was about to say I agree, but that's just wrong.
Good.
I disagree.
Okay.
I actually really love the color palette of this movie. I think that's my favorite aspect of it, because it has this watercolor look where the primary colors that it focuses on are like a bone white and a purple and blue gradient with a little bit of green, and then the yellow that Star brings. And I think that white, purple, blue, green gradient color palette is really interesting.
Yeah,
but it's just softer because it goes for this watercolor, little bit more muted color palette. But I think that the fact that it leans really heavily into that specific like 4-color color palette is a commitment to artistic style that I think really works.
I'm just like comparing it to like something that looks like Encanto, where it's just a myriad of colors and they're all popping out at you, and you feel like, oh, I'm glad I saw this on the big screen in the movie theater, so I can get the full experience of it.
This does not sell that. No.
This one is home brewed to be viewed on your Disney Plus on your TV with motion smoothing on. Because I know you said you didn't want to talk about it too much, but the animation is sort of a conversation around this film, so we can talk about it briefly. I don't care for it, and I was trying to pin down why. And in talking to my beautiful girlfriend Anna, as I was just driving home with her, shout out.
Friend of the show.
She enlightened me to the fact.
Girlfriend of the show.
She mentioned, and this is what it clicked for me, is that it looks like Disney Junior TV shows. Yeah. And at that point, I'm like, it could be a creative decision. And I don't want to say it's not.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I have to consider the reality or the potential that those TV shows are churned out at a much higher rate and with much lower like oversight, because we just got to get 26 episodes of this out in a season. So I have to consider the potential that this just had less time and resources committed to it.
It's certainly possible. I mean, I would frankly be pretty surprised at that, considering it is kind of their marquee movie of the year.
Yes.
And is, I guess, intended to be like their big comeback to animation after Encanto was very successful, but we're coming off of Raya and the Last Dragon and Strange World, neither of which had any impact whatsoever.
Yes.
And this kind of unfortunately feels like it's going to fall into much more of that camp than the modern classics of Encanto, Moana, Frozen. Like, there have been some really good recent Zootopia, Wreck-It Ralph. Like, they're not batting 100, but they're batting pretty good. Yeah. Except for in the 2020s.
Exactly. They're in a rough patch, and this is like them bottoming out. I think there is, like we've said it before, but I want to drive home that there's nothing unique or uniquely identifying about Wish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It has the aesthetic, but obviously that is controversial.
Yeah.
And I think it also falters in a couple of other areas.
Sure, yeah.
The supporting cast here is stupidly weak. God. So incredibly terrible.
Yeah.
She has a gaggle of friends that... do they work together? But they're all underage?
Tucker, the point of those characters is that they're the Seven Dwarfs. Do you get it?
Yeah.
They're the Seven Dwarfs. Do you get it? Their names all start with the same letter as the Seven Dwarfs. Do you get it?
I didn't actually.
There's Gobbo and Simon and Ding Dong or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
More points to your Ouroborosing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, poke,
yeah.
referencing.
Yeah.
But they also, I think, detract from the movie a little bit because you've got to have just like a whole gaggle of characters that have like half a note of characterization.
Yep.
And when there are intended to be emotional moments between them or recurring jokes that don't really land because who are you people? I mean, it's like the...
Who are you people?
It's like the lifting up the rock and all the eyeballs of like... you're just a bunch of generic background characters that are constantly around and are involved in the plot in very tangential ways. And it takes away from the main characters of Asha and King Magnifico and his wife Amaya. Like, okay, we focus in more on these characters, then we get a little more motivation, we get a little more personality, but instead we have to keep cutting away to all the town members and her family that are totally one note. I hated the supporting cast.
Yeah, they also, briefly returning to animation, they so clearly put way less time into the design of them. Because they look so basic. Yes. They look like background characters.
They do. And they stand out a little bit from the background characters.
Because they really look like background characters.
But the difference in animation quality and personality between them and Asha is fucking night and day.
It is.
You look at her face and she's got a little bit of blush going on, and she's like chewing her lip a little bit.
She's got freckles. Yeah.
It's like, that is... Frankly, Asha is an amazingly animated character. Yeah. Like the way that her hair moves and she's like moving her body a little bit to like, cause she's like a little bit awkward. Yeah, great. But then you look at her gaggle of background characters, like they are more simply designed. They look out of place in comparison to her and King Magnifico, who's also a well animated, well designed character. Yeah. And then there's just these other characters.
They're just absolutely nothing. And that was another element that was like, this really feels underbaked.
Yeah.
It really feels like they didn't have enough time to allocate to everything.
Yeah,
because like that's never occurred to me in watching a Disney film.
No, I mean like all of Mirabel's family in Encanto is just like the most crazy design characters you've ever seen.
Exactly. Like there's never been this large of a gap between the main character and supporting characters in Disney film. They all feel typically like they're on the same level of time and attention and everything. It's just another way that it really baffles me how like undercooked and poorly made this film feels.
I want to talk about the other element of this film that I think is undercooked.
Okay.
Is the world as we were talking about of Rosas and its visual identity, all that. Yeah, we already talked about how that's pretty one note. But I think the magic of this world is also really lame. Like what we set up this premise of anything can happen, wishes and magic and sorcerers. I'm like, cool, great. But the farthest they push that is growing things and making animals talk. And making fireworks. It's like, these are the most simple... This
Disney
is what you
magic.
start with.
Yeah, that's it's just Disney magic.
Yes. Like they focus on those things because those are kind of things you associate with the simpler Disney magical elements.
Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty, like they
talking animals, fireworks in the sky, making the pumpkin grow for Cinderella. Like these are the base elements, but I can't even think of any other example.
No.
It's just like shooting spells and doing the most basic things. It's like, but she has a wand and the star came down from the sky and all it does is make animals talk.
Yeah. I like the star. I like Star. Star's cute.
Maybe the best part of the movie, honestly.
I think the best part of the movie.
Has a ton of personality, animates in very interesting ways, all the little sparkles and stuff.
It's cute.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just a cute little like Disney thing.
Yeah.
That they're going to sell 1 million plushies of.
But it works.
It works.
Yeah.
It's
Star versus Splat.
Who wins? It's Star.
What about a Valentino versus the dog from Strange World, like Ryder or something like that?
Let's not get sidetracked. Let's focus in on Wish. Disney references.
Okay. The Ouroboros begins, Darren.
The Ouroboros begins, and it is clearly evident in the dozen or so references that I caught in the film, and I'm sure there are plenty more. And that feels like what the film's identity is.
Sure.
At the end of the day, like,
but it doesn't commit to that.
No, it doesn't commit to it. But like, if you're looking for something, ultimately that's what you have to land on. Like, what is unique about this film? It references other Disney work.
Yeah, in a way that Disney movies don't usually, because they're very insulated in terms of the worlds.
Tucker, there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
is because seemingly what they landed on with Wish is, instead of making the film unique and characterized and memorable unto itself, what do we just ask people to remember our other movies?
Yeah,
remember.
Even in the credits, they're showing just like outlines of every Disney movie past except for planes. Planes.
Oh, no planes.
No planes.
That's crazy. Crazy omission. But like, remember Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Remember Cinderella?
Yeah.
Hey, remember Bambi?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I do. But you can't just like show me Peter Pan and and say the word Bambi and like wash your hands of making an extremely poor movie.
Well, here's the thing: is I think it's unfortunate that it strikes this middle ground, because not only do those moments take away from the world of Rosas and his characters, which are, again, we don't think are great, but are their own thing, and then we just have to keep poking like, hey, reference.
Yeah.
But I was kind of under the impression that the references and the connecting of Disney's sort of overarching general concepts was going to be the point of this movie, to the point where I thought that the Kingdom of Rosas was going to be the castle from the Disney logo.
Yeah, like the Magic Kingdom.
I thought that the star was going to be the star that grants wishes across the thing, and that's kind of implied. But I honestly thought that they would make Disney into this world, into this is what Disney has always been, the kind of retroactively, and I'm like, I don't love that, but okay, like that's an idea.
It's something, but it's something as opposed to nothing.
It gestures at that, but it doesn't commit to that at all.
What else was? Oh yeah, they just straight up start drawing the Mickey ears at one point on a piece of paper.
Well, they like halfway get to it.
Yeah, they halfway start drawing that. Asha is a fairy godmother, or is the fairy godmother?
What does that mean?
From Cinderella?
No, but it's obviously not the same character. Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Is what do you mean by that? Yeah. Like, why did we do that? Other than just to say the phrase fairy godmother, as in remember Cinderella.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just another thing. I was like, what are we possibly doing? Walt Disney Animation was never on the same par as like Pixar.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people recognize that. But they're going through the credits. I was like, I love Atlantis. I love Treasure Planet. These are films that flopped at the box office, I'm fairly certain, and are not like in the upper echelon of like Lion King and the Disney Renaissance, but like they have unique identities and they have a fan base built on top of that. They have unique characters that interact in interesting ways, and they're funny and they're expressive and yada yada yada. And instead of like doing that, we just have outlines of them in the credits.
Sure.
We have strayed so far from why people love Disney, and I think this is sort of like, this is the film the note ends on, or the note the film ends on. I've switched them.
Yeah. Scratch that. Reverse it.
Scratch that. Reverse it. The film is so concerned with this idea of like, be creative, follow your dreams, and leave something for the next generation. That's Asha's grandfather's wish, is to create something that has a lasting impact on future generations. The post-credit scene of the film is him writing the "When You Wish Upon a Star" like riff. Yeah. And to have that as the tag of your film that is so nothing, so reflexive, so reactionary to your previous work that it provides nothing of its own, I have to question, like, what happened? Why have we lost that creative spark? Why didn't you put any effort into this film Wish? Your Disney 100 movie. We don't have another Disney movie for, until Inside Out 2? Yeah. What went wrong here? What were we thinking?
Yeah. I have no idea. What do we know what next year's like November Disney animation movie is? Where are we going here from here after Wish?
Tucker, keep talking. Do you have anything
else to say? Is it a fucking sequel to something?
November.
Is it not announced yet?
Not announced yet.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, yeah, the untitled Disney animation film.
Okay,
November 27th.
They're working on it. Yeah, I have no idea. This, to me, kind of feels similar, but slightly worse than all the other Disney movies I've seen that I'm not particularly passionate about, but I know that there's plenty of fans of them. I wonder if this will be a thing for them. I know they don't often do sequels, but sometimes they do, and maybe they want to double down on this and try to give it a sequel to build out this world a little bit.
What if we make Wish, Fire, and Rescue?
Oh my god. Well, that was actually outsourced to another team. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 10.
I initially I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I think I've talked myself farther down.
Sure.
I'm gonna go like a 2.5 out of 10.
Okay, wow.
I just can't find anything of material value in this. Yeah. And whenever I think about it, as you just saw, dear viewer, I just get angry at how far we've fallen. And angry at how little effort was put into this.
Well, that's our review of Wish. The movie is not out yet for most people. I hope we unsold you on the movie, I guess. Sorry about that. Like, this is how we feel. Yeah. But we're interested to hear your thoughts. I'm so curious to see how this performs at the box office, what the cinema score for this is going to be, because it does hit the beats for a family movie. And unless you are paying attention to the idea that it could be Ouroborosing and find the idea of these references offensive, I just don't think it's going to annoy people as much as annoyed you.
I agree. And I want to give context to this at the end of the episode, or end of the review. I walked out. There was a lot of kids in our theater, and we were waiting on the street corner, waiting to cross the street, and we had some people that were there, and they were little kids, and they said, the parents asked them, "Hey, how'd you like the movie?" They said, "I loved it." And kids are easily entertained. Kids will watch anything, but at the end of the day, it's not really a movie for us, obviously. It's going to entertain your kids. It's going to entertain kids across this great nation, Tucker. I don't know why I said that. But, it's, it's fine. It's the Disney animated princess movie of the year. Whatever. And when I also want to know, when I say there seems to be no effort put into it, I don't want to, blame individual animators or writers or the directors or what have you. I think it's an issue of the larger Disney machine, is what I'm blaming here. That's who I'm pointing the finger at, to be clear. Yeah.
Now, there's actually one final point of this movie we should talk about for scores, but the songs.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I don't like musicals in the first place, and Disney's songs are a handful that I enjoy, but that's very few and far between. I found these to be very clumsy. The way that they choose rhymes and the way that they choose how to hold a word in order to have it flow with the music. I think the actual melodies are totally fine in terms of how they're composed, but the lyrics of these songs are really choppy.
I agree.
And they jump around, and they'll just sometimes say a normal sentence to the beat, and I really hate when songs do that.
Speak singing. Yeah. Tucker, I agree that I think they're well performed. Sure. Ariana DeBose, as we mentioned, is great.
It's not Chris Pine and Ariana DeBose's fault.
It's the songwriting. Yes. I think it's the lyricism, and it goes back to my thing of how much actual time was given to the people creating this film. Yeah. Because the second song they sing when they're in the Wish room, does not match that scene at all. That's a love song. That's a love song that you sing to another person. And they're singing it about, they're holding the wishes in their hand as they're fawning and singing this very specifically, I'm talking about a person that I love. And I'm was this written for a different movie or a different scene and just plugged in here?
Sure.
What?
There's no romance in this movie.
No.
Yeah.
There's not.
Very peculiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the songs even less than I usually do.
They're not they're not well implemented. Is the main bottom line.
Yeah. Any final thoughts there?
Bad movie. Just really bad. I don't want to get angry at a children's movie, but why'd you make me get angry at a children's movie?
Well, that's our thoughts on Wish. Again, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We will see you next year for Untitled Disney Animated Project.
Woo!
Can't wait.
Strange World 2.